Good afternoon, Crime Crunchies. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I am your host, Courtney C. I am a 27-year veteran of the media, and I'm so happy to be able to bring you Crime Crunchies. So let's dig in. We've got day 56 updates, and there are a few. And the first one is one that I talked about live the other night on day 53. And I was thinking, wow, this is really cool. I haven't heard anybody talking about this. And then Nancy Guthrie had it on her show last night. And we are talking about the footprint on the front porch. So I want to thank Ronald ST7ST. He was one of my viewers who actually brought this to my attention. I really appreciate that so much. Let me pull up my screen. And let's take a look at it. I'm actually going to play my video from the other night because this is how literally Ronald joined my live and said, there's a footprint on the front porch and nobody's been talking about it. And I thought, well, maybe I won't talk about it too much. Maybe I actually called the FBI and called in a tip. I feel kind of silly now, but you know what? I don't care because it could have been the tiniest thing. I'm sure they caught this, okay? But at the same time, I'm thinking, if they didn't, I want to do my part. I really genuinely care about Nancy and having her be found. So, you know, I did. I called it in, and I believe they probably already had it. But let's go ahead and take a look. Let me make myself a little bit smaller. I'm going to play my video from the other night and kind of walk you through literally Ronald. Bless your heart, Ronald. You were on live with me and you were walking me through how to find this exact moment where you can see an unnatural pattern of blood on the front porch in Brian Enton's video. So giving full credit of this video to Brian Enton. Let me start playing my video and you can see how I followed Ronald's instructions and found the shoe print. Drop. Right here. And I think that there's a delay, not those. Yeah, I know. There's a delay. I think when I see your comment, there's a delay. All right. You'll see it looks like 6 diamonds, 2 rows of 3. And that's it. That 1, 2, 3, maybe it's this. That is it. I'll give it a second for that. And if you look at it, it is 6 little diamonds. And it's actually rounded at the end. And nobody had thought that anybody had walked through the blood because, again, nobody has been talking about a shoe print. It didn't look like there were drag marks. It didn't look like there were scuff marks. But, and I actually reached out to Ronald in the comments and asked him how I could get a hold of him because I wanted to see how he found this. But I'm wondering now if maybe he found it through another creator because, again, Nancy Grace had this on last night, but I feel like I was the first person who had this on with Ronald. So anyway, this is definitely not natural. The blood dots that you see beside it, from what I understand, is they look like little circles if there was oxygen in the blood drops. And that's how we believe that it was aspirated out of her mouth, is because some of the circles have clear centers. So those drops would have had oxygen in them. And you can see kind of like a spittle here. But this particular print is definitely diamond shape. And again, you can see a heel here, and it even goes out a little bit on the side. And not only did Ronald bring this to my attention, but he actually suggested a shoe that could potentially have that type of waffle pattern. And he took my attention to Ultra Range EXO. It's a Vans shoe, and it definitely has a waffle pattern on the bottom. And as you see, the heel is rounded. and they're definitely diamonds, and it goes in and around. And, you know, maybe it isn't exactly the shoe, but it's definitely something similar. And so it took me a little time to go through Brian Enton's video, but the video, if you want to look at it yourself, this is the one where Brian Enton literally walks up and approaches the house and is videotaping, looking at the blood on the front porch. And the name of the video on Brian Enton's YouTube channel is On the Scene. More video surfaces in Nancy Guthrie case as investigators question who is in charge. So that's the name of the video. And I believe it's like 2 minutes in. But as we go through the video, he just swipes over this, and I freeze framed it. But here is what looks like a heel of a shoe with a diamond pattern. This is definitely not a natural pattern. It doesn't match the other portions of the blood. So I seem to recall that after they opened and released the scene, that investigators or forensics came back and they actually put a white canopy up on the front door area, and they were probably taking pictures because it was sunny out. And so I have to wonder that the police weren't, or the investigators of forensics weren't taking pictures of this. And I have to hope that they obviously have got pictures of the shoe pattern here in the blood. And I mean, they have done some stops on at least 2 different people, one person in Rio Rico, and then the second person in Tucson, where they took the Range Rover. And it could be that they were looking at them because they could have had their cell phones going in and out of the area at different times. Or, you know, if they were searching the homes, they could have been looking for a shoe that had this type of pattern. So the fact that we've not heard about this shoe until now, it just raises alarms in my head of they definitely are keeping this in their pocket, because if they can find the guy that has a shoe with this pattern and they do any DNA testing and they find Nancy's blood, there's your guy. We have Naples Realtor Pilot. We have, I'm not sure what it is, $1.99. I'm not sure. Did you do a super sticker? Thank you so much for your super sticker, Naples Realtor Pilot. I appreciate your support of the channel. Thank you for that. I do have memberships and all that good stuff. And I didn't mention, please subscribe, like, and hit that bell. It's completely free. That's the only thing I ask, is that you do subscribe and hit the bell. Super chat. Thank you, Realtor. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that for that super chat. Very sweet comment. I miss you too, Naples Realtor Pilot. You're very sweet. I appreciate your fandom. Okay, so we've got this shoe print here. It has to be something. This is not natural. I would imagine, my prediction is that more and more creators are going to come out and start talking about this. I mentioned it on day 53 because my lovely guest, Ronald ST7ST, brought it to my attention. He literally walked me through Brian Enton's video and got me to where I can see this. If you go to the video On the Scene, more video surfaces in Nancy Guthrie case as investigators question who is in charge. This is one of the first videos that Brian Enton did. About 2 minutes in, when you see him walking up to the porch, he just kind of swipes his camera over the area, and whoever caught this, really good catch. You true crimers are super sleuths. And I mean, I'm just amazed at the critical thinking skills that everybody has. Just really smart people. So here we have this diamond shape. And again, the shoe that that Ronald ST7ST took me to was this Vans Ultra Range, because it definitely has a diamond, but I'm not sure. The heel has this rubber thing at the back. And when I'm looking at it here, to me, this looks like the end of a heel, because you see how it's kind of rounded on the edges. So the diamond would go all the way to the edge of the heel, and you can almost see the side coming over here, how it kind of bows out where you're getting into the wider part of the foot. And this particular shoe has more of a solid rubber sole in the back and doesn't have these little diamond pockets, but it's hard to say. It's definitely hard to say. But the cool thing is forensics, if they have this picture, which I know that they do because they went back to the scene. This is one of the things that they actually closed off the house for again, was so that they could take pictures of forensics. And so they have people whose job it is to be able to look at tire treads and sole treads. And if they are able to find porch guy or anybody else who was in the house with DNA, and they find a shoe that matches this pattern, they should be able to swab that for Nancy's DNA because this is just her blood. Then they've got their guy. And I really hope and I really pray that they have somebody in their sights. Keep in mind, they had Kohberger in their sights long before we knew. We didn't find anything out about Kohberger until he was arrested. And that's how they should be playing this for sure. So a couple things about Porch Guy. Let's look at first. Okay, so we had talked about, and I hadn't played it yet, but people have probably seen, and again, True Crimers, Super Sleuths. There's video, a moment of the video of Porch Guy. It's very dark behind him. And in the background, there are two little lights that poke up behind him. Okay. And when we think about the layout of the street and the neighborhood, so this is compliments of Nancy Grace Crime Stories. The other night she had The Neighbor on. And so I just grabbed this off of their presentation. So I'm giving complete credit to Nancy Grace. Thank you so much to the show for putting this graphic together. Here's Nancy's house. The neighbor lives down this way that she interviewed, but they were interested in where the vacant property is. And so here's the vacant property. It's kind of catty corner, but you know, with no fences, it's very easy. If these yahoos had used this vacant property as a staging or to do recon on her home, very, very, very easy for them to go through yards and access the back of Nancy's home. But in particular, the construction home is down the street. Her front door is about right here where my mouse is moving, right by the red locator icon. And this house is under construction at the end of the street. And this is kind of where we see the two little headlights that are in the background of the video with Porch Guy. And he even turns and looks that way. And some people thought, and I could see how it makes sense. If there's headlights, it looked like the car had some headlights on and maybe it was moving very, very, very slowly toward. And, you know, we're wondering if Porch Guy doesn't have a walkie-talkie, and that if the lights you see in the background could be the car that's coming to pick him and Nancy up, because we know that he removed Nancy through the front door. But I was looking for video of that to look at today, along with this map of where this construction home is, because this is the direction that those lights would have definitely come. And I mean, they could have totally used this construction home as well. But in doing that, I found this video from Dad's Gone Live on YouTube, and he actually goes and debunks the car lights. So I thought I would watch this with you. I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but let's see if he does properly debunk this.
And asking me if I can do some type of headlight test or house light test in front of Nancy's. I just want to clarify that we are going to stand on the asphalt. We are looking at her door right now. And if you turn around, you're looking at the no outlet that goes up the hill, my little spot where I stage and live stream from. And I want to show you guys something. So from the front of Nancy's door, you can look out and you can see the lights on this house up here. And a lot of people are mistaking that for a car. Well, those lights are always on. Let me show you real quick with my light. There's a house behind there. That was not a car up there. That is a house. That man, I've talked to him. He always has his lights on. However, we're going to turn it off. I'll show you how dark it really is out here. Turn on the light. We're going to walk to where we're standing directly in front of her door. Now, I want you to know that the street and the layout of the house are at 2 different angles. They do not run perpendicular to each other. We're going to walk over here to where we're standing in front of her door directly. And I want you to remember that her door faces out at an angle. So, where's her door? Where's her door? I think it's one more over. We'll go down a little bit further. And we're standing directly in front of her door. You guys looking at her door right there. Sorry for the shakiness. There's a camera pointing at me from the top. So we're going to look out this way. Remember, her door's at a slight angle. Up on top of the hill, there are 2 little lights at a house. I've been coming out here for about a month. Those lights have been on every single night. They are on a sensor. And I believe they were on a sensor the night Nancy was taken. So that is not a car up at top of the hill. That is a house way up there. Also, you look out this way, you can see the lights from the property on the 1 street over. That belongs to a man named Paul. He's a very nice gentleman. He actually owns a property that I'm sitting on right here when I do my live streams. And I just want to share that with you guys. So the lights that you see in the Nancy Guthrie video are not cars, and they are actually houses. Another thing people are talking about is this sign over here. This is actually a no outlet sign because it's a cul-de-sac up there. So that's the other thing. That's not a stop sign. That's nothing crazy. It's just a sign saying, hey, you got to turn around if you go up in there. And then we'll go over here one more time. And a lot of people are saying they see a car parked right here in the video. So we're going to stand over here and I'll show you an angle looking at the house. So that car kind of would be where I'm at right now. And then it would be in the video, off to the right side where you see the perp. Once again, we're out here in front of the Nancy Guthrie house. And I just want to share, we are standing on the asphalt, not on private property. So that is I guess that's the headlight test that people were asking me to do. Make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
Okay, so I thought that was kind of interesting, and I was hopeful that the lights that we saw in the background, was a getaway car, because then maybe they could have gotten some tire treads or prints picked up or something. But Dad's gone live. Thank you for your contribution of this video. And so it looks like he did a test, and I would say he most likely debunked the lights that appear behind Porch Guy the night of the abduction. And that's a bummer. I was really hoping that it would have given investigators some clues, but I think he has properly debunked that. So that's a bummer. All right, so let me go over to Ashley Banfield. So there is the DNA, and I have to just do the little disclaimer. The DNA that we're all waiting for, that is at a lab in Deerfield Beach, it's only a partial profile, and the sheriff had said it could take a year or more in order to get this profile sorted out, in order to get a decent profile to pull an actual person. And if the person is or isn't in CODIS, that's a whole other thing. But then, they could always turn to the genealogy, which is good. But it looks like Ashley Banfield had Cece Moore. I'm sorry. She's a genetic genealogy guru, and I just love her. She's so smart. Apparently, they are fast tracking whatever it is that they need to do to get this partial profile of DNA done. The disclaimer that I want to give is, my biggest fear is that the DNA that we're all on the edge of our seats waiting for, what if it isn't the Porch Guy or the abductor? I'm afraid, if we're all putting all of our, wishes and dreams on this DNA sample, we sat around waiting for the glove gate. If we had 30 million gloves and we were hopeful that they were going to get some DNA out of the glove, and it wasn't, it was a nothing burger. So, I just want to give disclaimer that while we're paying attention and waiting and watching this DNA from the lab, we don't know anything about the inside of the home. Ashley Banfield does talk about her source saying that there was blood on the inside of the home. So far, we're hearing that the DNA that they have is hopeful that it could be from the perp, because if we think about how he had what they call a bite light, and I had never heard of a bite light. There's so many words that we've learned new, like signal sniffers, Wi-Fi jammers, and bite light. So if this guy had a bite light in his mouth when he's fiddling around with the Nest Cam on the front, it's very possible that you've got, think about your saliva in your mouth is pooling because you're not swallowing, because your mouth is open holding this bite light. And it's very possible that he could have drooled. The gloves may have been pristine, but he was inside the house, we believe, up to like 42 minutes. There's no way he didn't touch his face, adjust his mask, touch his nose, blow his nose. Apparently, it's very common that when creeps break into people's homes to eat food or drink food, use the toilet, they've gotten DNA out of toilets. Like somebody went poo-poo in a toilet and they actually they didn't flush. Okay, so again, these are dumb people. These people are dumb. We know they're dumb, but they're smart enough that they've, what we think, have evaded up to this point. So maybe it's a real DNA sample, but I thought it was really interesting. And I want to play a few minutes of Ashley Banfield talking to Cece more about some of the things that they're doing to fast track the DNA sample, which maybe it won't take a year, but let's just check in and see.
They're using it now on the Guthrie case. Here's my conversation with Cece. So Cece, what do you make of the news that I learned that the DNA International Lab in Deerfield is rushing the job and using tech that is, state of the art, wasn't even supposed to roll out till next year?
Well, earlier we heard from the sheriff that this case might not be able to be solved for a year or so, right? When they were talking about the mixture. So we know there was something in the offing that they were looking forward to. I don't think that was just completely random. That tells me that DNA Labs International may have told him there's some new tech coming out that if we haven't solved the case, we may be able to apply to this. And then I think what happened is whoever was working on that was either encouraged to speed it up or was just really inspired by the case to try to do that. When companies are working on new tech, there's usually a schedule. And so I'm guessing that whatever this new tech is, they sped that up and they, tried to put it in this quarter or next quarter versus next year at this time.
You and your colleagues speak a whole other language than I do. And I think a lot of our listeners too. But I imagine you all getting together at like super egghead conferences and having the most incredible dialogue and then being so optimistic about what is on the horizon. Can you talk a little bit in my language about what is on the horizon and what this might actually be and what it might mean?
Sure. Let's go backwards a little bit. When we first started genetic genealogy and creating this methodology, it was just this little niche thing. People laughed at us, to be blunt, or rolled their eyes at us. It was just considered this thing for genealogists or to help adoptees. And people didn't take it that seriously.
Boy, you showed them.
Yeah, right. We sure did. We love doing that. We were actually told by scientists that we would never be able to use this type of DNA, autosomal DNA, for genealogical purposes to learn more about someone's family tree. So we definitely proved them wrong. But what that meant is there wasn't a lot of advancement that was done specifically for this field other than what us volunteers and citizen scientists were doing. So on the academic side, on the scientific side, there wasn't as much progress helping to push it forward because they were working on other things. Now, sometimes they would develop something that also benefited us, but we were not the focus. Well, once we started solving these cold cases and high profile active cases like the Koberger's case with investigative genetic genealogy, suddenly there was a lot more attention and interest in what we're doing. And so I think that sparked a lot of advancements that we hadn't seen previously, and they've been moving at a really rapid pace. So it's always difficult to predict what's coming unless you're the person working on them. But the things that we run into, I'll say, that are challenges are highly degraded DNA. You know, we already do have ways to work with that, and mixtures, which is what we've heard a lot about in this case. So the company I work with, Parabon, is really expert. They are expert in working with mixtures. But what has not been developed successfully yet is using whole genome sequencing for mixtures. It's been on this other platform. Like when you spit in the tube and mail it into Ancestry, they're using something called a microarray chip or a SNP chip. That is the platform where it's easiest to separate out mixtures, called deconvolution. And so my guess is there's a lot of work being done on trying to deconvolute or separate out mixtures, different people's DNA, using whole genome sequencing.
Well, there's where I get confused, because honestly, with all of the rape cases and all of the messy murder scenes, all I've ever imagined is mixtures. And all I ever hear in court is mixtures, but they seem to talk as though it's not, an impediment to solving a crime. So what kind of mixtures are you talking about?
And I'm going to stop because she goes into some stuff and, it's very technical. But the point that I'm trying to make really with this segment is that the DNA that is at the Deerfield Beach lab that Ashley Banfield says is actually a really, really top-notch lab, which is so exciting. The lab had indicated to Sheriff Nanos that because it's a partial sample, they did not have the tech ready that could actually handle the sample that they have. And it could take a year or so in order for the tech to catch up to what they need to do in order to identify the sample. Well, what Cece is saying here is that it's very possible that whoever was, had that tech on their project management schedule could have moved it up and really just fast paced that tech. And apparently the DNA lab is saying that they may be ready to do that step that was going to take a year for. They really just fast tracked everything. And that would be amazing. The fact that they were able to really fast track this whole thing for the Guthrie family would be absolutely amazing. And that gives me hope. But then there's just that nagging little doubt in the back of my mind that, is this even the perp? Is this even the perp? I'm hoping that whoever was on the inside of that scene, was able to get something, and that I'm hoping that they know that it's the perp. And, I think it really bothers a lot of people, myself included, that they left that stupid map that's on that front stoop. The fact that he could have been drooling from that bite light, the bottom of his shoes, the fact that they left that there is driving everybody crazy. But it's hard to say. Again, touching your face, even if you're wearing those gloves, there's going to be some DNA. So I don't know, maybe they'll be able to do something with a sample sooner than later. Now, Savannah, I covered parts 1 and 2 of her interview, and I want to play part 3. It's about 13 minutes long. I might cut it off near the end, but I think it's really worth looking at because, there are just the pain that she has. She is going to be going back to the Today Show. So let me play that. And it's just really, really hard to watch. So let me get this going.
Your faith throughout this, you're resolute and strong like your mama. But did you, at some point during all of this, have to wrestle with it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not done.
Mm.
But God doesn't tell us not to wrestle with him. This isn't some cheap faith And my mom taught me that God only requires our authentic presence. And that he has. But I never doubted. One of my mom's best friend told me that she had been going through a hard time, and she said to my mom, how have you kept your faith all these years? What? Losing your husband, all the different things that my mom had been through. Like, how, Nancy, how do you keep your faith? And my mom said to her, well, where else would I go? And I hold that with me. But faith is how I will stay connected to my mom. God is how I'm holding hands with my mom. And I won't let sadness win for her. She taught me. See, I saw her grieve. I saw her world shatter. I saw it. And I saw her get up. And I saw her believe. And I saw her love. And I saw her hope. And I saw her smile. And I saw her laugh. I saw her joy. I saw her love of the world and adventure. I saw her belief. I saw her faith. She taught me. She taught all of us. And I may not do it as well as her, but I will do it. I will do it for my kids. I will. I will not fall apart. I will not let whoever did this take my children's mother from them. I will not let them take my joy. They will not take my sister's joy. They will not take my brother's joy. They will not take our love. They will not take our faith. But our anguish is real. We need help. We need someone to tell the truth.
Yes.
I have no anger in my heart. I have hope in my heart. I have love. But this family needs peace.
Yes. Yes.
I don't think we deserve anything more or less than any other person. We don't say, why us, why me, why anything. If I say why me for this horrible thing, then I have to say why me for all the beautiful blessings of my life. Well, then, yes, why? I don't know why. I'm grateful for my blessings. And I'm heartbroken for the sorrow.
Yes.
I'm heartbroken.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I am crushed, but I am not abandoned. We are not alone. Do we need an answer? And someone has it in their power to help. It is never too late. And when you do, the warmth of love and forgiveness that will come will be greater than can be imagined. I know what it is to be forgiven.
Yes.
And there is no greater joy.
Yes.
And that joy awaits. Whoever can hear this and find it in their heart to help.
Yes. You're focusing on people in Tucson. Somebody there must have seen or known something and maybe forgot about it or didn't pay attention to it.
How can someone vanish without a trace? How? Someone knows something, even if that something is someone's been acting strange for the last 7-8 weeks, even if it's just that. Somebody knows. And maybe somebody's afraid. And I understand that. But our hearts are in agony.
Mm.
We can't breathe. We can't live. We can't go on. We can't be at peace. We can't go forward. We have to know what happened to her.
Yes. You talked about coming back to New York. One of the other enduring images for me was walking into Studio 1A and seeing you there, speaking to everybody. What was it like for you walking back in there?
I really wanted to come and see everybody.
Yeah.
I just love this beautiful place that we call home, where we get to come and be every day. And I know how much people have prayed for me and loved me. All the people that you see on TV, and then all the people that you don't. All the notes and messages that I have received are just so beautiful. I just wanted to be with my family. They're my family too.
You said something when you were there, and you said, I don't know how to come back, and I don't know how not to come back.
Yeah, that's how I feel when I look at the Today Show, which is the answer to all my dreams, actually better than my dreams.
So how about coming back? I know everyone's wondering.
So it's hard to imagine doing it because it's such a place of joy and lightness, and how I can't come back and try to be something that I'm not. But I can't not come back because it's my family. I think it's part of my purpose right now. I want to smile. And when I do, it will be real. And my joy will be my protest. My joy will be my answer. And being there is joyful. And when it's not, I'll say so. And I have been so grateful to have this family. I consider this my family, my greater family. And when times are hard, you want to be with your family. And I want to be with my family. And so I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I'll belong anymore. But I would like to try. I would like to try. And I'm not going to be the same. But maybe it's like that old poem, more beautiful in the broken places.
It's very poignant. So she is going back Monday, April 6th. And, I just, the way that she just said, it is such a happy place. And people tune in because it's lighthearted, cooking segments, kind of feel good stuff. And the fact that her soul is just emotionally destroyed right now. She's even questioning whether she can, if she can be happy or act happy. I mean, how do you act happy when you're completely, inside out? Your feelings are raw. So, I mean, I would ask myself that too. It's like, I know that the best thing for her to do is to get back into a routine, but watching segments 1 and 2, how this whole interview started out, And I really appreciate her bravery, because we don't get to see this side of people who are missing family members, especially as traumatic as this. And the fact that she's literally laying her soul bare, I'm hoping that she will, pick up the torch and maybe be able to help other families that are going through this. But the fact that she doesn't just have her mother, missing and being injured, and, have this guy on video, she has it hanging over her head that her mother was taken because of her fame and her celebrity. And that's why I think of the 3 siblings, she may have the harder time moving on or moving forward. And not to say that she can't, but I think she emotionally has a bigger challenge than Annie or Cameron does, if that makes sense. Just because she feels, even though there's no proof, nobody knows at this time that it has to do with her celebrity, and that was a focus, and that's how she was targeted, that her mother was targeted. There's no proof of that. And so she needs to hang on to the fact that, because they don't have proof, even though in the back of her mind she feels like she is responsible for this, she needs to hang on to the hope that we don't have proof that it was. And I think of the 3, she has, I think, the biggest emotional challenge to come back from this. And, she's got a little bit more time. Hopefully they're all getting therapy, and she's got some, deep soul searching to do. I'm glad that she's at least going to try to come back. Maybe they can commit her in the schedule to just have some shorter days at first, just to kind of see how it feels. And like she said, she's going to at least try. She's going to try, and that's all she can do. And bravo. I had mentioned before that I have a source who works with Cameron. Cameron's very private, and I'm not sharing, all the information that I have from Cameron, but just know that he's a tough guy. He's a smart guy. This has affected them all greatly. And, I just talking with my sister, it's like, what if it's unimaginable. The only word I could come up with, it's unimaginable what they have gone through and the challenges that they're facing right now. I pray to God that nobody here ever has this happen to them with anybody in their family. So I know that they have a Dateline special from Friday night. I have not watched it yet. I'm going to probably preview it and see if it's something that I want to cover. But if you're just joining us really quick, I just wanted to point out again, the main thing that I am, focusing on today is on day 53, I was doing a live, and I had a person in my chat, Ronald ST7ST, said, "Hey, there's a footprint on the porch." And I said, "A footprint? I haven't heard anything about a footprint." And he patiently walked me through the video. And sure enough, there is an unnatural appearance of a potential shoe print. It looks like a heel. And I'll make it bigger. If you look at the drops, and yes, I think somebody had asked, they've DNA tested. This is all Nancy's blood. There is no one else's DNA in any of this, but this does look like somebody, maybe there was a little puddle here and he stepped down, and depending on the pattern of the rubber sole of the shoe, this looks like it's kind of rounded on the end like a heel. And this is 6 little diamonds. And Ronald, who I give complete credit to, he identified it, or I don't know where he identified it. I actually tried to reach out to see if I could find out how he found this, but he even pulled a shoe up that is a potential. This is a Vans Ultra Range EXO that definitely has this diamond shape underneath it. And I know that even though they released the scene, forensics came back to the house, and we saw like a white canopy where they were probably keeping it private and darker, and they were doing photography. So we know that they were definitely taking photography of the front porch where the blood was. So if I'm sure that they saw the pattern, they're pros, they know what they're looking for, but I'm hoping that they have somebody who is an expert in shoe tread. And I know that they do. So somebody who is an expert and knows it has looked at the shoe tread. And, it's very possible that whoever they end up zeroing in on, if they have a shoe that matches that pattern and they swab it and they get DNA, then it's definitely a mistake. We've just been waiting for this person or persons who've gotten very, very, very lucky. Every crook or creep makes a mistake. It's just, how long does it take to catch the mistake? And can they use science to corroborate the mistake? I have a question. What was the sample DNA that was used for Nancy? If it was the blood in the house, it could be the suspect's blood. So supposedly there is DNA that they have captured that they are testing for with the perp. And we don't know if it is the perp. We don't know but supposedly there is DNA inside the house that does not belong to anybody in the family or any of the workers or home care people that they've identified. And believe me, when the FBI went in and did a victimology of Nancy, they would have collected everybody's contact information who went in and out of that house in probably the last several months. Okay. They even have the guy who gave her a ride in the Uber. He actually had a video of their conversation. They've got DNA of all the family. They've taken DNA of the Uber driver. They've taken DNA of anybody who had gone into the house. So what they're saying is that they have a DNA partial sample of somebody that doesn't match anybody who was known to be in that home. And the problem with the sample is that it's a partial, and I'm not even going to get into it. It's way above my brain capacity, but there was technology that is needed in order to further test this DNA in order to, get a profile. And it was going to take, we believe, and this is just speculation going off of what I've, read and heard from other folks, is that this kind of tech was going to take potentially a year to get this tech caught up to actually handle the sample that they have. Well, what CeCe Moore in the segment earlier, if you just go back in this live that we're watching right now, if you just go back and replay, CeCe Moore talks about how it's very possible that if they knew that they needed tech and the project time frame was a year out, they could have decided to fast track that. And apparently DNA, and especially in genetic genealogy, it's fast tracking, it's catching up, it's going further. There are more people working on it, with the Golden State Killer that they caught with a genetic genealogy. They are, more and more people are getting focused on exactly how they can identify profiles with even less. So the hope is that while Sheriff Nano said it could take a year to figure out this DNA sample, potentially, maybe if they fast track the science and the tech, maybe they can get it sooner. And that's everything that we want to hear. Golf shoes, absolutely. And this is just one that my viewer had me pull up, but it could be several different things. But when we, take a look at that, this is definitely not a natural pattern. And, nobody's really been talking about this. Last night, I finally saw Nancy Grace mention it. And I had kind of been holding off on talking about it because I didn't want to go down a rabbit hole, but I really do think it could be something. Did they get Luke and the other guys? I'm not sure. Is that the guys who, there's a guy in Rio Rico, and then there was a guy with the Range Rover. And I don't know. And that's why I'm saying if when they finally get somebody, if they check the shoes, if they own a pair of shoes like this, then All right, so weed picking. I know that you've asked a couple questions. So why did they cut out a portion of the video of the suspect after the weed picking? And then the next scene is a suspect at the door with dark spots on the jacket. That I don't know. I didn't realize that they had edited that video, but the suspect was wearing gloves, and we don't know where they got the DNA from. We don't know if that video was porch guy arriving at the house. I think it's porch guy leaving, because I think that that's where I think they came in the back door. We know now from Savannah's interview that there was at least one back door or back doors propped open. And that's something new that we learned from Savannah's interview that we did not know before. We just knew that the back door was left open, but apparently the back door was propped open. And it makes me think that they were going in and out of that house. I think that there were definitely more than one. I think maybe 2 or 3 with a guy with a car, because you come in a car, you leave in a car. Nancy left in a car. We know from Savannah's interview that she was taken from the home in her pajamas with no shoes on. So as far as the video, I'm pretty convinced at this point that there's more video from that front camera or a camera that we don't know about. Okay. The FBI only released a portion of it. And I'm pretty convinced that we haven't seen a lot. How does Savannah know that she was taken in her pajamas with no shoes? And that's just what the family says. You know, is it accurate? I don't know. I would imagine the family probably knows more than we do. So, and we're doing so much speculation. Nothing is fact. We're not going to know anything until this whole thing is done. Okay. So everything is speculation. And why everybody is listening for any nugget of information is because this whole case has not made sense from the get-go. Okay. Typically the MO is that a family member would have done this. The last person that saw her, last person that dropped her off, or somebody in the family, somebody who's unhappy. But at this point, officially, the family has been cleared. And until that changes, I have to go with that. Okay. Whether I believe it or not, I have to go with that. It's my responsibility sharing this content to, you know, it looks like the family has already gone through so much together. So at this time, I'm just hoping that the people that they caught, even if they don't pan out, I'm hoping that the DNA will help them. And when they do get a suspect, if the shoe print matches something that they own, that would be great. So another story I wanted to cover is this one is just fresh off the press, and it's completely separate, but Arizona deputy accused of kidnapping woman in custody fired from department investigating Nancy Guthrie. And this is not anything that the Pima County Sheriff's Department needed at this time or any other time. So an Arizona sheriff's deputy is accused of kidnapping a woman while on duty and was fired from the department investigating Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, authorities said. The Tucson Police Department confirmed to Fox News Digital that 22-year-old Travis Reynolds, a former Pima County Sheriff's deputy, was taken into custody and charged with 1 count of kidnapping. The Tucson Police Department did arrest 22-year-old Travis Reynolds, a former Pima County Sheriff's deputy, and charged him with 1 count of kidnapping in connection with alleged misconduct that reportedly occurred while he was on duty, the department said. Police added the investigation is still active and ongoing, declining to release further details. So just in a nutshell, what this guy did was he was taking advantage of his role and his power being a sheriff deputy. And he had a female that he had arrested and put her in his cruiser. Her hands were handcuffed, and in exchange offered to do whatever for her doing whatever, and she declined and must have shared that information once he took her to jail. And apparently there's at least one other person that he may have done this to, so not good. But this is completely related to Sheriff Nanos and his other nightmare he's got going on with the Nancy Guthrie case. And I really feel like Nanos has really flubbed this up, and he doesn't seem like a very good person, just morally, because of, we're finding out some things about his past, but also the fact that EcuSearch, who is a search group out of Texas, had offered to come in and take drone photos. And now that, if it is true that that Nancy was taken in her pajamas, if Annie knows what color those pajamas are, EcuSearch could literally put in their software called Locate a color, download all the pictures of the drones, pictures that have already been taken, and their software can go through with computer speed and find anything that has that color or colors in a tiny pixel and do what a human eye can't do, or would take hours and days and days and days. And they offered to do that for free. And Sheriff Nanos has, either declined or ignored them. And in addition, to the Cajun Navy, who had offered to come in early February, they offered to come in and do that hard search where they're literally walking through brush in the heat. They offered to do that for free. And not only did Sheriff Nanos not even reply to say, no, thank you, Sheriff Nanos didn't even reply, like they were garbage, like not even worth his time. And in my opinion, it's March 28th now. And if she had been dumped in the desert, like people suspect has happened, the temperatures are such now that if she even was dumped a few days ago, she's probably already decomposed and the animals have already drug off. So at this point, if there was anything to find in a search, it's probably long gone. Okay. And they probably could have really used the Cajun Navy to go through, do that hard work. They would have worked with the sheriff on areas. I mean, that's a sucky job. I cannot imagine how sucky that would be, but they were ready to come in and do it for free. And he didn't even give them the time of day. And so in my opinion, I feel like Sheriff Nanos, his negligence is almost aiding and abetting these criminals. And I will say it, he's aiding and abetting whoever did this to Nancy, because he has stood in the way of people coming in and helping look. And there were volunteer people who came in to look when the media was there, and he told them to go away. And Jennifer Coffindaffer, who is absolutely correct, the billboards that they have going up in Southern California and Houston and wherever, that billboard is useless. It shows a picture of Nancy Guthrie, and anybody who hasn't been following the story is going to go, oh, she's missing. No, she was abducted. She's probably dead. And we have a picture of the guy who took her. And Jennifer Coffindaffer wanted to do a GoFundMe to get people to donate and put up a decent billboard that shows Porch Guy, some with, the full body, the face, the tattoo on the wrist, something, so that people could go, oh yeah, I know who that is. That walk is like, so-and-so. And Sheriff Nanos comes out and says, don't do any GoFundMes. We're not changing the billboards. This guy, I don't think he's playing with the full deck. And so at this point, I'm officially saying that, in my opinion, Sheriff Nanos has aided and abetted these criminals. And I'm sure that the people on the task force are doing a fine job, and I'm sure that the FBI is doing a fine job. But because Sheriff Nanos is in a leadership position and has not accepted help early February, when it was cool enough in the night that if there were remains in the desert, that they could have actually been found. Even portions of her body could have been found. Now it's too late. Okay, it's too hot. And even if they put her on ice for a month and they just now put her out in the desert and somebody finally went, it's too late. It's too hot out there. So Sheriff Nanos, I'm actually seeing some people that say, I agree. Thank you. I was, I just feel like he needs to he's under heat right now. And he had 100% vote of no confidence before the Nancy Guthrie case. And the fact that he has completely screwed this up, it's his decision not to take this free help. Claimed he couldn't get footage for first week too. He's lied. I don't care. I'm sorry. I'm going to say, I feel he's been dishonest. He changes. He's done 3 versions of one story. I can't even remember I don't know. I can't even go into it right now. But in my opinion, Sheriff Nanos has aided and abetted these criminals because he's an idiot. And it looks like he's a fraudster. I don't think he's playing with the full deck. He's more concerned about going to the gym, looking at himself in the mirror, and riding in his Corvette. So maybe he needs to have more time to go ride in his Corvette. And I hope they give him more time to go ride in his Corvette. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I think he's aided and abetted. I don't think that he was in on the deed. I certainly don't think that he colluded that way, but I feel he has colluded in a way, because honestly, at this point, the Guthries, they just want her body back. Savannah has talked about forgiveness. I honestly think that they could find it in their hearts, because they seem like genuinely loving people. They probably would have forgiven this person for what they did. They just want her body back so that they can mourn, It's just simple. And, even if a search by the Cajun Navy wouldn't have helped move the sheriff closer to a perp, I don't think the family cares. They just want her body. And the Cajun Navy and EcuSearch might have been able to find her remains. That's all I would care about. I mean, the deed is done, It is going to change my life if somebody gets life in prison? No, I just want my mom back. I just want some answers. This closure is enough to make anyone go crazy cuckoo. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I specifically want to thank Naples Realtor Pilot for your super sticker. I really, really appreciate the support. Please make sure you subscribe, like, share, comment, hit the notification bell. I do have memberships now. I'm excited to be going to CrimeCon. I really appreciate everybody who commented and all that good stuff. I really love this true crime community. And, reach out anytime you guys have any questions. I love reading your comments. And other than that, I will be reviewing the Dateline special that Savannah Guthrie did, and of course, watching for any other updates. And I will be back very soon with more lives. And other than that, I hope you all have a great day, and I will catch you on the flip side. Toodaloo.